So I'm just going to work on Castor's default standing behavior here in a second. And I'm going to start putting a cue on it and then increasing the amount of time that he will do it for me. Here's the cue. So I'm going to count and then I'm going to click and feed. And I think I did about 3 seconds there before I clicked. And then I'm going to feed. I'll let him eat his food out of the pan here. And then I'm going to start moving to just feeding him just with my hand to his mouth. So I'm going to cue here. 1, 2, 3, click. And then I will feed him his reinforcement. So I'm starting out with feeding him the pan because that's kind of how we shaped the behavior, was from the pan he would lift his head up and keep his head straight from there. So cue again, 1, 2, 3, click, and then I will feed again. So that pan helps with just keeping his head straight and giving him like a good place to put his head. For Castor, that worked out really well. For Atlas, I had to get rid of the pan pretty quickly because he'd keep going to the pan when I wanted him to just stand there. So again, I'm cueing the behavior, counting in, and I'll click and then feed. And then I'll feed to like give my treat to his mouth here. So I've moved on from feeding from the pan pretty quickly. But I had to get rid of the bowl for Atlas because he was confused. He always wanted to go back to the bowl. I also had to do that with Dakota. Actually, everybody but Castor. So if you're going to train that behavior the same way, I would caution that you might have to not use the pan very long. Just kind of depends on. There's other ways to get your horse's head straight as well. I was just taking the course with Mustang Maddie, and this is how she teaches it. So I'm just kind of exploring on that, and you'll see that in the other videos with my other horses. And I kind of just figured out some different things to get that behavior instead of the bowl. But he's doing excellent with this, so I'll probably fast forward through this because all I'm doing is adding time to behavior. So I'm giving the cue, I'm counting, and then I'll click, and then I'll feed. So if you can see in this one, here's my cue, I'm counting, click, feed. Cue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, click, and then I'll feed. And then I'll fast forward through this because I'm just extending duration. So I'll do like 3 times of counting to 5, and then I'll count to 6 3 times, and 7, and so on and so on. And then I'll kind of move position too because I had been starting up at the front. So my goal here is to cue that behavior from anywhere around him and he'll stand straight and relaxed. Okay, here I'm going to use my target and we're going to work a little bit with that. And I'm just going to do a little bit like we did before where he steps back, I feed him in for the position that I want him to be in, and then I will present the target and ask him to go in there. So that's what we're going to do here. I just gave him some reinforcement to chew on while I look up here on my phone what I was going to do, because I have like a little lesson plan for each horse before I go out and work with him, or I'll just be all over the place. So but I want him to do something and not be throwing behaviors at me while I'm trying to look at my phone. So I don't want that at all. So I'm asking him to stand still in his default behavior. He did that. That was good. Because it's kind of hard to see because I'm facing away. Now I'm asking him to go to the target. So I'm going to click him as he goes to the target, not when he touches it. I want to reward the going forward behavior, not the actual touching behavior, because I don't want him to just get pinned ears and like always be chasing the target. I don't want chasing behavior. So so ask him to touch the target again, and he's pretty good with that. I'm just kind of doing some review with the target. Then I'm going to feed him back here, and I don't really want him stepping forward. I want him to stay back there. I'm just going to reward him for standing still again here. We're doing lots of the default standing behavior, lots and lots of that. And you'll see as we go, like I do less reinforcing for that. And then he went forward, so I'm just gonna click, or when I'm okay with clicking for staying still, and even though he went forward, I'm just gonna feed him back where I want him to be. And you'll see that a lot with my mini horse too, because we did a lot of that with leading. So I'm just doing mostly a lot of reinforcing him for his default, and then I will use a little bit of the target because I want that behavior to be more than balanced. So I want him to do a lot more standing than going after the target. He still wants to scoot up a little bit there. He's been reinforced for that in the past, so he just is really stuck on going forward. And even right now, like, it's not bad. Even though he's had that pretty big long reinforcement history, just by balancing out and not balancing, I'm not giving him equal amounts of standing still and going forward. I'm giving him much more, a lot more amounts for staying still, but that's equaling out his need to go forward and to stand still, so that's important. But even with just fixing the amounts I'm giving him now, he's just doing that one step or just lifting the leg, so that's a lot better than before. If you've seen his other videos where he just offers that forward moving behavior, that walking forward behavior, walking off behavior. So this is getting much, much better with just practicing that default standing still behavior. So now that he's back where I want him to be, I'm just going to feed him a few times. I'm like, yes, I want you to be back here. And then I'm counting down again while he's in standing position, and I'll feed him again. So I'm queuing here, and then I'll click and feed. And you just can't really see because my back's turned to the camera, unfortunately. I'll feed him back. Oh, I should have held it a little bit longer because he picked his foot up, but he didn't actually step backward. I'll try again with that. There we go. And then I'm just gonna rapid fire feed here because he is in the position that I want. Give him a jackpot. That was pretty good. So I did a lot more standing, as you could see, than actually going to the target because he needs to even that out because he wants to already go forward. So I need to give him much more reinforcement for standing. That's very, very important.